I'd like for all of our members of Trinity to welcome our friends from Toastmasters at Before 9 up in North Carolina. We're glad that they could be with us on what normally is an afflated occasion for us on a Sunday morning worship service. But we do have to deal with some realities this morning that are rather difficult to hear. And we wanted to tell you about it in this occasion because we wanted to reach the largest number of you. We wanted you to join forces with us in going to the throne of grace to appeal to God for our help. And we would appreciate counsel and advice as the Lord may speak and prompt you about what we should do. The missions program at Trinity Bible Church is an enormous part of who we are as a congregation. Our annual missions conference and our annual faith promise pledge drive, as well as the missionaries that we have sent out into various stations around the world, are part of the fabric of who we are. We send the gospel to the other lands because we don't think it's fair that we have so many opportunities to expose ourselves to the gospel while many have never heard. And so our missions priority at Trinity Bible Church is very deeply ingrained within our conscience and within the fabric of what we do. Over the last 3 months, we have seen a sharp downturn in the income of our missions program. And we need to let you know about that and let you see some of what we believe is happening. For those of you who may be new, let me talk to you about our Faith Promise as a program. Every year at our annual missions conference, we ask all of our members to soberly pray and fast, if necessary, for God to give you a specific directive about what your role in missions should be that coming year. And we ask everyone to consider taking a financial stake in it. Of course, part of the reason for this is because sending missionaries around the world requires money. But more importantly than the money, what we really want to foster is a connection between you and God. If you are not able to hear from God yourself, if you are not able to respond to God for yourself, your Christian walk is not going to be what Jesus wants it to be. So we ask all of our members to ask the Lord to give you a number, and then by faith pledge that as God provides, you will trust Him to provide those funds in order to support our missionary endeavors. So at this past year's conference, we received 34 separate commitments from those of you who heard the call of God in your spirit, and you made your pledge for your weekly gift. And we totaled those up for the year, and it came to $63,000, which makes us feel very reassured that the missionaries we're currently supporting at this current level, we can continue to support. We have a monthly obligation, if you average that out, of about $5,000. And so the math seems to hold fair. We ought to be good. Here's where we're headed, and this is all convenient. Unfortunately, over the past 3 months, the sharp downturn we have seen has been missing about $2,000. Rather than receiving about $5,000 on average over the past 3 months, we have received about $3,000 over the past 3 months. And we happen to have enough cash on hand that we have been able to cover that, but the cash we have on hand, if that income continues to stay down, is slowly going to deteriorate. And our deacons who track our financial progress are concerned that the likelihood of this scenario turning around is very low. And so while the missions committee never tracks or bills any of our faith promise commitments, the missions committee doesn't keep a record of what your faith promise commitment was. The only reason we take those commitments is for the setting of our budget. And then after that, it is really between you and the Lord to pray those resources in. And we don't consider ourselves in any way to be collectors when it comes to this commitment. It is between you and the Lord. But as the deacons maintain our financial accountabilities as a congregation, and they count our offering and see to it that things are done with excellence and with integrity, they have reason to believe that the current reality we're facing may be the beginning of a new trend. Let me remind you, one of the reasons we think that is because our actual donor count is lower than the number of pledges that we received. And so that's one of the reasons that the deacons are thinking that this is a new trend that we may need to adjust to. Let me remind you what's at stake in the missions program here. This is a look at what our missions dollar distribution looks like around the world. 40% of what we give into our missions program through our missionaries is invested in foreign evangelism and discipleship. 18% is given to Bible translation. So if you put those two together, 58% of every dollar you give to the Trinity Bible Church Missions Fund goes overseas to get the gospel to people who have never heard. And we are grateful that the Holy Spirit has architected that priority into our dollar distribution. 17% of our funds go to domestic evangelism and discipleship. 15% go into missions mobilization efforts to get North American resources pointed to foreign fields. And 10% go to field support endeavors such as missionaries on home assignment and in support roles through mission boards and mission organizations. So what can we do? The first thing that the Missions Committee is going to be doing is immediately advising our missionaries about the current reality. We'll invite their prayers and we'll let them know that if hard decisions are on their way for us, we don't want them to be caught by surprise. We would urge you to pray earnestly for God's provision on these finances. We believe that as the Lord provides, you will keep the pledge you made between you and Him. But it all depends on the Lord's provision for all of us. And so we ask you to earnestly plead with God for that. And then we will ask the Missions Committee to make recommendations to the deacons in the event that future outlays do have to be reduced, that we go about that in a manner that is wise, compassionate, and full of care to our missionary family and the cause that they serve. We don't know what the Lord is going to do with this, but like every other endeavor of faith, we believe the Lord has a purpose for this opposition. And we invite you to join forces with us as we wait to see what God will do and how He will bring a victory. Now to Toastmasters.